My name is Davis Wardwell. I'm 18
My
years
name's
old.
Lisa
My name is
Hannon.
Noah Blunt. I'm the student pastor here
Trio
at Westside.
Glenn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
David Thomas, here with Charlie.
Austin Gregory. Thank you for having
My
me.
name is Donovan
My name is
Jones.
Micah Aver. I'm a student at Lounge High
All
School.
right. Well, Mr. Charlie, you're going to lead us out here tonight on your Young Minds podcast.
All right, welcome back to the podcast and Happy New Year. I just also want to say that anybody who's listening on YouTube, welcome, because now we've decided to put all the episodes on YouTube to help the podcast grow. But for my first guest of 2025, if you can introduce yourself and we'll keep on rolling.
Hey, we're glad to be here today, Charlie.
Yes.
So glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm Anthony Ross. I was born and raised in a small community in Ocilla, Georgia. I first met Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior at Vacation Bible School at a small church there in Ocilla. When I was introduced to him by a Vacation Bible School teacher that evening when we went there. So, and then from then on, grew and then got. As we moved and got older, found out a little bit more about myself and more about him, and learned about my identity in Christ as I got older and much more, and growing in a church up in Athens, Georgia. So I met Jesus at an early age, and so glad I did.
That's awesome.
I'm Beth, his wife, and we live in Ray, Georgia. We moved away when we first got married to Americus, and then we went to Athens and stayed about 13 years. I finished my master's there, and then God brought us back to the farm. I grew up out in this area right down the road, and we're on family land now. We have 3 adult children and their spouses, which we love dearly. We have 2 precious grandboys and another one on the way
Awesome.
this month,
That's cool.
January. So
Wow.
he's going to be here soon.
Yes.
We've been back here 25 years, and God has done a big work in our lives since we moved back home. He's got us out here in a cotton field, but he spoke to us out here, and he's been growing us out here. So we've been married 41 years. We've been through valleys and hilltops, but we know the best is yet to come.
That's awesome. And, just to say, this is a very nice change of scenery for me, because I've gotten to the point where I kind of record in the same spot in my church. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come out here, because, as my mom knows that, I kind of record in the same spot. And so it's a nice change of pace and a nice change of scenery just to come out and record somewhere else.
Well, welcome to the farm.
We're so glad
It
you
is,
could come.
I know that people, obviously, you only can hear me, but it is so nice out here. You guys got a wonderful place. It's
Thank you.
We've been
beautiful
blessed. We really have
out here.
to be out here.
Yeah. So, one of the big things in how we met was with The Chosen. I know this wasn't a question, but if you could, can you tell people kind of how we met? 'Cause I know how I think about it, but how did you guys think about it when we first met? And it doesn't matter how the order goes on this. I'm just curious, really.
Well, the Chosen, I believe, Charlie, you can correct us
Yep.
if we're not right, but was it season 3?
Yep. It
And
was season 3.
episode 7 and 8?
I think it was the finale, right?
Yes,
That
yeah.
was.
I think
Okay.
so too. So we decided we would go to Valdosta in a much more comfortable theater setting.
Yeah.
And when we walked in, I think we sat right
Next to us.
right next to you
Mhm.
there, and we happened to be in that finale
Yep.
as extras, but we were in that big group of the 5,000.
Yep.
And of course, it was so excited to see how they put it together, because we didn't know. We were just, it was just shot here and a shot there. But we didn't see ourselves there that night because it was just so many. Later, we did spot ourselves.
Yep.
But we began a conversation, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
Because I think you noticed. I think
I was sitting on the end.
Did you notice our shirts?
I
Was that
did.
it?
I did. I noticed your shirts, and then I think Mom was sitting next to you, I think, and then you were
Okay.
sitting on the end, and then I was sitting on the end. And so then you guys started talking and exchanged Facebooks and all that, and then I found both your Facebooks, and we started talking.
So you started stalking us, right?
Yeah, exactly. No. But that was like so cool. Because of course, we all didn't know that was going to happen, and we thought maybe we'll just, say hey to each other, maybe, and say, that's cool, you guys are extras,
Yeah, because I think one of you leaned over, it might have been you, and you said,
Might have been.
Are you guys in this or something? And when we just said, yeah, we were just out there for that.
we were like, what?
It's a possibility we may see us up on the screen. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, that was cool that we got to see your names in the credits too, because I remember you taking a picture of it, like,
Yes, that's right.
trying to spot it.
We were being crazy.
And I don't know how you spotted it, like, without slowing it down and really looking, because there's so many names attached to that project. Like, and even probably more now that you can, like, because they're having more and more people come in,
Yes.
every season, right, to be extras.
More and more people are hearing about The Chosen too. More and more as the word gets out,
Oh, it's come
and
a
even
long
in
way.
different dialects and different languages now.
Yeah,
So,
and like I know that one of my people that works at my church, she was an extra too. I think was it also during the feeding? Yeah, right. Yeah, during the feeding of 5,000, and her name is Jamie Deal, and I haven't talked to her about her experience, but like, and I was thinking about it on the way right over here. We're doing a nativity scene, at Northside, and I was like, I need to get them involved in it because they got the perfect clothes for it,
Yeah, and we've actually been asked here in a
Fitzgerald.
small town here to come and do that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like you've already got the
gear.
garb and everything.
It's
Like,
so much fun to do that too. So much fun to dress
how about
up.
you? You're gonna dress up?
well, so I'm the photographer, so I mean, I can decide if I want to. You never know. I might find something to put on. But the lady that's running it, she's like, "You want to take pictures for it?" And I said, "Heck yeah, I do!" Like, and Mom's gonna be in it for she's gonna be one of the shopkeepers that's gonna be in it. So yeah, she's excited for that, and
Lot to look forward to.
oh yeah, 100%. So how did you guys meet?
Well, we met in high school, in Irwin County High School.
Okay.
I was 15 and she was 16. She was in a grade above me, and so we met. She was a cheerleader, and I was on the high school basketball team, and we started then dating each other at a very young age there.
Yeah.
And it just grew, and I found out a little bit more about Ray, Georgia, where she was, her and her folks, and started coming out here. We dated in high school, through college, and in 1983 we decided we would get married and become one. So
That's awesome.
That's our story.
And it sounds like to me you guys have been everywhere in Georgia, like places that I don't even know that exist. You've been to places in Georgia that I've not even been to or even heard of. With wherever you've gone to.
We've had the opportunity to travel, go different places, especially when we were in Athens. We traveled with the kids, and when we homeschooled our kids, and we were able to take them different places too within the state and
Right.
Go visit. So yes, we.
And more recently, when you had a job that in Savannah and you traveled with that, I was free then to go because the children were gone, and
That's
so
correct.
we were able to travel then. When he went for work reasons. So
Yeah,
that was
it's
exciting.
good to get out and just the two of us then.
Yeah.
And meet different people. That
And
was
then we wear our
exciting.
shirts and our out, and then
Yeah.
that's how we know about that.
Yeah,
The
and
travel.
that you've definitely met a lot of people. Because I mean,
Yes.
I see all the people that like you're tagging and all the stuff like if you're on the set or if you've been like, hey, like we're here, like in this picture right here, you got to look real hard. And I'm like, good Lord, how many people? How do you keep track of everybody? Like, that's a lot of people to try to remember their names or and stuff like that.
Some of the places, one of your questions is, where's some of the places you gotten to go?
Yeah.
Of course, one of those was meeting y'all, of course.
Yeah.
But the one that I remember sticks out is Brandon Lake concert that we got back from filming season 5. Is that
Yes,
correct?
it
Yes.
was just a few
And
days later.
we were walking up with our shirts on, and I had a shirt that says "Lights, Camera, Action" about the filming and everything.
Yeah,
We had
season
this
5.
had this lady come up and just said, "I know all about that," and was so excited and everything.
That's so funny.
Can I get a picture?
Yes, and she was
Really?
coming up. Yes, and brought her friends up, and her friends would stay back there and look. I think she thought that she had lost it with us.
That's funny.
But the story with that,
Was I think with this lady, we met her and talked with her for a while, and then we went to the Chosen conference in September.
Yep.
And we were in line in the bookstore, and somebody said, hey, and were tapping us on the shoulder, and it was her.
Oh.
Out of thousands of people, again, it was probably 6,000 people there.
Yeah.
She ran into us again, and then we went to another Brandon Lake concert after that in Savannah just a few weeks ago.
Were they there again?
And he was, and he.
She's getting ice cream, and she's
you're
like,
getting jealous, I know. But he went to go get some ice cream, and there she was.
Wow.
And
So,
so
yes.
you just never know when God puts people in your path like that, and it's just divine appointments. So.
And you talk about going to a Brandon Lake concert. Me and the family, we went to Phil Wickham and Brandon Lakes. Some worship nights. Oh my gosh, that's something like no other.
that was a
It's
celebration,
amazing.
wasn't it?
Yeah, and I loved of course I love their fast-paced songs, but then they slowed it down and read from the Bible.
Yes.
Or they sang gratitude, slowed it down, and the whole arena is just all 13,000 of us are singing the same song. Didn't care how bad we sounded, because Lord knows I can't sing worth a lick.
It seems so intimate too when they do
Yeah,
that.
it is.
We went to that same concert, but it was in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So I know what you're talking about.
And because I remember, and it was so interesting, because I really think God was in it. I mean, not just for us to go and experience it, but because we were supposed to go to a Jeremy Camp concert in Athens, or not Athens, in Albany, and it got canceled because he had heart surgery. And so, I was like, Mom, we got this money that and I was like, I really want to go to a concert. Like, come on. And so then I was like, can we go to it? And he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And so she got the tickets, and then I was extra excited because one of my podcaster buddies was going to be at that concert. And I'd never met him in real life. We'd only talked just on camera. And so I finally got to meet him, and we got to worship together, because I made sure our seats were right there. And that was difficult because you had 13,000 people
Yes.
trying to get tickets, and the only thing I was thinking about was, I know people are having fun down there, standing down there by the stage, but that's 2.5 hours of you standing
Yes.
down there.
We wondered that too.
I couldn't
standing
do
up.
I couldn't do it. I mean, I loved our seats. They weren't that far, but and we were on Phil Wickham's side for praise. They split the arena
Yes.
up. We were on Phil Wickham's side, and that was fun. Because I wish he's almost 40 years old, and I wish I had the energy for him. Because he's jumping around like crazy. I'm like, how do you have that energy?
He has three children too, doesn't he? Yeah, 4 that he has so much energy to do. Yes.
And I'm just saying, Phil, if you're listening to this, please, if you want to come on the podcast, I'm all ears. I'm all open.
Now, connecting that, he is a huge Chosen fan.
Yeah.
And when we were out at the Sermon on the Mount filming, that was first, and that snowstorm, or not snowstorm, ice storm came in that day. And he was out there with us on the back of a trailer, and he was freezing too, but still singing. And so I've never forgot that, but he was out there to support us and encourage us. And then he was at the conference in September and gave us 2 mini concerts, really.
That's awesome.
And it was just the
Fabulous.
whole place worshiping there. And, we're all connected in Christ. It was an amazing time. So he's a big fan.
Yeah.
And so
So have you interviewed him yet?
I want to. I want to. That's actually
Yeah.
that's one of the big goals, and I've told people, I promise you, it's not just a want. I want to really get to know him as a person rather than just, because people know I'm a performer, but
Sure.
what is his layers and how is his relationship with God like when he's having to sit down and also not be big-headed when you're going in to perform for 13,000 people. I mean, that's got to be difficult. I mean, 'cause people know your name, and you're famous, to a degree. So what, how is that, for you, and how's that pressure?
So humble too.
He's so real.
And so he's so real and genuine and humble about it.
And he's been on podcasts before. I know he has. I've seen it, and I think he just took her for K-Love Radio at the time of recording this. So I might have to see if I can pull some strings.
He's one of my favorite too, Phil Wickham. So I'm Brandon Lake, but I first started taking up with Phil Wickham.
Yeah,
first.
and
she was a Brandon Lake, but I really love Phil Wickham.
Well, I love
Both of them are really good. So.
And what was pretty neat was my dad. Because we took him to the concert, and he liked it, but he doesn't listen to worship music like we do, like me and my mom do, but he loved Brandon Lake. Like the ruggedness, the countryness of him a little bit. And he sang, a part of his song, Hard Fought Hallelujah, which is now out now. But he sang a portion of that. And my dad was even like, he needs to put that on the country charts. Because, he was singing an acoustic version of it. And I think he'll still release one. It sounded so good. I was like, and I've got the video of it. He did.
Yes.
It was an experience for all 3 of us to go and to be in for one thing, that was the first concert I've ever been to that's inside. The rest of them have been outside in the heat. And so that was nice to be inside
Yes.
and worship, and even, and I think too with those concerts like that, what's so cool is even with all the lights, with all the sounds and everything, they still take time to slow it down and read
Yes.
from the Bible too, because it's a lot of spectacle in some ways with all the lights and things, but they slow it down.
That's
They
right.
do use a lot of scripture when
They
they're
do.
when they're talking to their audience and everything, and they speak right directly about the needs and hurts that are going through out there, and an invitation too.
Yeah.
So
We stopped in one of the concerts. I believe it may have been the one with him and Phil Wickham, but it was one in Charlotte, and he had us stop and pray, put our hands on the people around us, and take time to pray for each one, because you never know what somebody's going through. That was a powerful night. It
Yeah.
really was. You
And-
could just sense the presence of God.
I was laughing, so I was like, I feel like Phil Wickham and white sneakers go together, because that's what he had on,
That's right.
like them white sneakers, him
Yes.
jumping in the air, and it's weird to think, we've got pictures of both of them on our phone now, and it's from, it's like not just stock photos or nothing, it's photos
Yes.
we took,
Yes.
and also like we were able to download the ones that they took from the stage and everything, and I even think the That's Who I Praise, like the live version, that's from the concert we were at.
Really?
Because I recognized the
Love that
first.
song.
We recognized the first part, and it's like, well, Brandon said that right, was we were there, and so that's kind of a cool little memory we have. The song that everybody hears the live version of, I was there in the room. My voice is somewhere in that recording
That's
somewhere,
neat.
and so that was a really cool
Yeah.
thing to realize, because they could have picked any other place that he performed that at, but he decided to pick that one, and that was really, really cool. But is there anything else you guys want to say about any of that before we move on? 'Cause that was a lot, just in that little bit. So
there's the Chosen is intertwined. You can see with Phil Wickham and Brandon Lake, but see how it's touching others through you and everything that
It's
they
all
say.
connected
Yes.
It
somewhat.
is.
We're all connected.
It's like Brandon Lake's song "Tear Off the Roof." Where did
Which,
he? Yeah, you
you
saw
know,
that on the.
yeah, and that's
Chosen too.
not just that, but that's the title of your episode too. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's true.
That's
Yep.
pretty
Yes.
neat. That's pretty neat.
Yep. So, and what's it like for you guys to meet other Chosen fans? Like, again, we've talked about us at the movies, but like for you to, to meet some people like, that are love the Chosen as much as you do.
Well, when we travel a good bit, we wear our Chosen gear a lot, and when you travel through airports and stuff, people will pick you out, or at a football game or some kind of social event.
Right.
They'll see it and they'll walk by you, and then they'll say, or like they stick their thumb out,
Yeah.
or
I
stop.
love that series or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And your heart's immediately.
And I think it's the sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's the big font and also the teal color. Like, I think it really sticks out, and so people see it. They're like, I know what that is, and I love it. Like, it's not a standard logo, it's not a standard shirt, or it's not a standard merchandise piece or whatever.
We've
People know
actually
it.
had people come up to us too, like the one in Publix here in Douglas. Which
Yes, you never know who you're going to meet and how God's going to connect, but right after the hurricane, we were in Publix in Douglas,
Yep.
and we were coming down the aisle at the end, and this gentleman was coming through the front door, and I happened to have on a Chosen shirt that day, and he came up, he said, I love your shirt, and I said, well, thank you, and so that began a conversation, and come to find out, he and his wife, they're from Alabama, and they were down in Douglas, and they were at the filming of the feeding of the 5,000, and we said, well, we were too, and that just started up a conversation. He said, well, I'm here helping people grind up their stumps and that kind of thing, and then he told us they have a ministry that he and his wife bought an RV. It's wrapped in Chosen gear, and people may want to look it up. It's called People Must Know RV, and they have a Facebook page. But they also have a screen that they let down on the side of their RV, and they show the Chosen when they go to RV parks, and they meet people and they come in. And so I just thought that was really neat. And so they called us last week and said, we're going to be back in Douglas helping people get their stumps ground up and all that. And so we said, well,
we'll get together.
Let's host you. We're going to host you here and let you stay here while you do that. And we have a little place out here that we invited them to stay. And so they have been here, and we've been able to have them over for dinner and do that. And so we've learned their stories And see, we shared our stories, and
Yep.
so God is
connecting.
just, they have an amazing testimony.
Now, would I've met anybody from Alabama? Probably not. What if if you hadn't had on your shirt that day?
Yeah, I mean, you just think
He's-
about things, how God just,
He
really
could have used
is-
it another way, but
Yeah.
he chose that way. One of the biggest things too is when you go to these events, like we call it, the first one was the Frozen Chosen because we nearly froze to death on
Yeah.
the Sermon on the Mount. But you go to things like this and you meet people with different backgrounds that are coming from Minnesota, Michigan,
all
New
over
York,
the United
New
States and the
York.
world.
and
People
you
with
hear
different countries.
Catholic, they're all kind of different backgrounds. You know what? That goes out the door.
That's good.
You know,
We're all brothers and sisters in Christ, and our spirits minister each other, and through that, and then the F5K season 5 was a more intimate group, but we have met friends for life, and we stay in contact, and we encourage each other, and I'm thinking, what would we have missed out if we had not gotten started?
Right.
And I know, you may ask about that, but how we got started with The Chosen, and it has just, our world has just expanded because of these people that love the Lord, and we encourage each other, and we get to experience something together, and that's connects us for life. It bonds us, and so that's been, I think, the best thing is meeting people like y'all, and just unexpected places,
Who
but
love
it was
Jesus.
planned by God. And then you're always connected, and so your family just grows, and your love grows, and you get to hear their stories and what God's done in their life. And
you hurt with them too when they hurt,
Yeah,
because
you're
they
there
bring
for
things
each
up.
other.
So yeah,
Especially
everything.
like an example of this hurricane. We were
Yes.
all
yes,
like in shock. Like
we weren't expecting that, were
no,
we?
not at all. And and I was just thinking about it the other day. We. Of course, it was bad in our areas and in Georgia, and of course it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. But then you look at how blessed we actually are.
Yes.
Because you've got the people in Western North Carolina.
Yes.
They are having to rebuild entire roads.
Whole communities washed out.
Right.
Gone.
They lost so many family members.
Right. And
Things like that.
the numbers aren't probably being reported correctly because we don't know.
Yes.
Right. And so it makes you go, God, you're really looking out for us there. We might have had a storm, but we have something to come back to and rebuild.
That's right.
They're having to put it from the ground up. And that's what, because I think a lot of people, we've kind of forgotten about it because, we've had big things like the election and stuff coming up and just everything else.
And
come
usually
by.
we focus in on our little area anyway, what's going on with us.
Right.
And we don't, because we're so busy with that and people wounded and hurt in our area that need help and need to be loved on too, that somewhere in North Carolina or Western, wherever, they're going through some stuff that could be a lot worse than us.
Right.
So, but yeah.
But how did you guys first hear about The Chosen?
Well, I let her because she was, she heard about it first.
Okay.
It was the end of March or 1st of April 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And we know
Okay.
what was going on
Right.
that time in 2020. The country was shut down and we were all home. But during that time, I began to see these ads run on social media. I think it was Facebook. And it really, I was curious about it. But I kept seeing them come up. And so I finally clicked in and realized this is a few episodes about Jesus, life of Jesus, those that were around him, those that were with him. And so one night I said, what do you think about, let's just start watching this. I don't know what it is, you don't have to pay for it or whatever.
And you couldn't see it on the TV.
No.
We had it on the computer.
We were sitting at the computer watching these
She
episodes.
said she wanted me to
that's the
see
only way it
this.
was out.
And I was on the
We could
road
get it.
at the time, and so coming in, she said, I got something I want you to see.
Yeah, so on one weekend, we started it and we saw, and it was the week of Easter too. They had recorded, they had put out maybe 2 episodes and then they were releasing on live stream one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And Dallas was on there, and so anyway, we watched the first episode and we looked at each other and we said,
We want some of that.
wow. Wow. There's just something in that just drew us immediately, and it
Yes.
even reminded us of our area with the fish out here and the things we had God had been talking to us earlier about, and we were just drawn in, and it was so relatable. I mean, you know, I could relate to Mary Magdalene in some of those, you know, places. And so we watched the next one, and then we would watch, they did some interviews with some of the cast and put those on YouTube. So everything that was out, we watched. And so we decided we would, they gave an opportunity to pay it forward because it takes money to do all that.
That's
and
right.
We were watching it free, and so we wanted other people to watch it, maybe in other countries. And so we began to pay it forward because we wanted to be a part of that. And so after we paid it forward for a little while, we were asked, given an invitation, did we want to come be extras on the Sermon on the Mount? And we just thought,
We did.
oh my goodness,
We're
let's
going
not
to that.
pass this up. And so we did, and then, but after that, you know, it's changed so much. Now it's not pay it forward. The Come and See Foundation has come to be a part
Yeah.
of it, and they are supporting them so that they can, that's avenues that they can get it worldwide and in theaters and everywhere. So you talk about coming to a little old YouTube where they released it,
night.
and now it's worldwide.
It's really changed in the last few years, hasn't
Oh my goodness,
They
it's
have
exploded.
it. They have it in 60 languages now. We were told. They
it?
already
And
Yeah.
does the
interpret
Come and See also, does that help like their other projects too?
It helps
does.
everything. And when you donate to Come and See, is what we do now, it's, they double it. They double your donation amount.
If you were to
Come
like
and
give
See.
200, they would be 400.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so that
that's awesome.
that helps go for the production, the cast, the crew, everything that we don't see, and then getting it out there. So
I guess that takes
This
a
is
lot.
great. Yes.
it does. It takes so much money to even produce these, and of course they've stepped up on their
Production quality and
yes,
You can
all
tell.
of that. You can tell from the first
From when they
episode.
first started how it was. But I told her when I was traveling, I said, now if they put out another episode, don't you watch that unless I'm with you. I said, you can't do that without me. So
You know, and I think it's like it's so cool. I mean, 'cause you can see with the like you said progression because people were donating and helping.
Yes.
Just the camera quality. I mean, the shots they're able to do. I mean, you had like you've got fire and like I mean that's a costly thing. If you mess
Yes.
that up, that's hard to
Yes.
redo again.
And Dallas is so particular on his, his sequence and everything, and he's in with all
Everything
that.
has to look just
Yes.
right, and we got to watch him in action, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, you've gotten to
He's
meet him
gifted.
and take pictures with him, haven't you?
Yeah, and
Yeah, he
know,
calls us every week to check. Sure.
what was so he's met hundreds of thousands of people, right?
Right.
So we go up at the conference to get a picture with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes up, he says, I remember y'all. We said, what?
Mm.
He said, I remember y'all. We said, yeah, we were at the last filming of season 5. And he said, yeah, I know. And I'm like, he didn't know
How
our
does he
names.
remember all of
But
these
I'm like, how
faces?
can
I'm
he
like-
remember? We had some funny faces, I guess.
Our southern accent too.
Yeah,
so
he probably thought, yeah, I can remember that. But he is just the most genuine guy, y'all. He is the real deal. He loves
He
the
is.
Lord. He's been anointed to do this, called to do this, and you can just see he has stories of miracle after miracle. And if you saw some of the episodes, he has stories about how God parted the sea for him, and they really did. Even the day that we filmed with the ice storm coming in, he said, I have all these people out here, and we may not get to film. What am I going to do? And so everybody prayed. He prayed, and we got all the
opened up.
scenes that we need to, and then that ice just moved in, and we couldn't even really get out of our hotel the next
now
morning.
you think Phil Wickham has the energy?
I bet
He don't
Dallas
hold a
has.
candle to Dallas Jenkins.
I bet Dallas is like. I bet he gets.
I don't
no
know
sleep.
when he sleeps. I really don't.
I don't either.
I,
It's just
I'm not
amazing.
made like that. But
No, I mean I was. I'm wondering because he's always doing something. I mean always.
He's
and
up
now
on-
that, of course, and I'm trying to change the subject, but
You could.
it's so many new projects I know you've seen that
Yep.
is coming out. I'm
All
thinking,
right.
when has he had the time to do this?
It kind of just to compare it to something like a lot of people watch. It kind of reminds me of like what Marvel did back when with all their movies.
That's right.
Make a universe, right? Well, now you got the chosen universe. Of different
Exactly.
projects. And it's so cool how they're trying to reach demographics, like with animated stuff. More kids side of things.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that.
and all
And
that. That's really
the
cool.
one that he just got back recently was in the wilderness, where he went out with the gentleman, and I forget his name right
Yeah.
offhand.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how that went with him.
I can't
while he
think
was
of
It's
out
already
his name,
been
but
filmed,
Yeah,
yes.
I know you're talking about. I just can't
Yes,
think
so
of
several
his
of the cast
where you
have
face
done
your
that.
fears. You know,
Yes,
your
you
biggest.
face your fears, and
I bet they were doing a lot of praying during that. Woo. Because I would be. I don't know.
I just asked myself, I don't think I could do that, but you don't. Yeah, I don't know what they had to face, but I'm sure it was something pretty powerful.
Well, the thing about it is, I've said that about when I first started this. I didn't think I could do this either.
That's right.
So,
Look
Look at
where
that.
you are now.
we
I know,
can
right?
do all
That's right.
things through Christ who strengthens us.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, well, you kind of you've kind of talked about it, how you became extras, but like what's your experience been like? Because it's changed, right, throughout
Yes.
the seasons you've been
Yes.
on. Because you've been what, 3, 4, and 5? All right.
Let's see. Now we started. You talking about in all the episodes, or are you talking
We
about?
were the Sermon on the Mount,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and
Feeding of
then
the 5,000.
5,000, and then season 5 was a much more intimate type. So we got to be in certain scenes. Now whether that's going to make the cutting floor, I
Well,
don't know.
one of them we feel like will be on the palms, the waving the palms,
Yeah,
coming in
that's the
Jerusalem.
triumphant entry. Now we can
So
say
we'll-
that because Dallas has already talked about it.
Right.
And seen some
And other
things.
things we're
So
not supposed to
Yeah.
talk
Be
about.
careful. We're in
Yeah.
territory.
But
I
he did say that on
she'll
the live
punch me
stream.
if I start telling y'all too much. So
Yeah, and I'm just telling y'all, and I'll say it here. I think we can say it because he did talk about this on the live stream
Yeah.
afterwards. But we were filming, and we were lined up with our palm leaves,
Yep.
and Jesus, Jonathan Remy, it was on the donkey. The donkey is called, his name is Thunderstruck. And there's stories about him. And I'm telling you, that's an anointed donkey. We watched him. It acts like he knows why he's there.
calm.
And they love on
No
him, and they
issues.
say, "Oh, good, you've been so good." He's not temperamental. Donkeys.
And
can be
donkeys are
stubborn.
they can be mean. Like if you're.
This one you'd be shocked. what you
He's
saw.
just perfect. I mean, day after day filming, and they give him breaks. And then we have a
fake one.
a fake donkey that they use just
You don't
for,
realize that when you're seeing.
yeah,
it.
Right.
certain things. But as he was coming down with his disciples into Jerusalem,
Because we see that at the first beginning of that when
Yeah.
he walks in. Yeah.
and they're coming down, and we're at the city there, and this huge whirlwind begins in the path right there, and you can see it, and it's taking up the dust and the dirt, and then it starts moving. It moved right across the path and on out, and everything stopped, and everybody got emotional, and the cameramen got emotional, and they just said, "We got to stop a minute." And the cast that were playing the disciples began to weep because we knew we were standing on holy ground, and it was just like, "I want you to know I'm here. I'm so pleased." That's what I felt like, and we were just a part of that, and so we had to just stop for a little while. But Dallas talked about it on one of the live streams briefly, and that also happened. We weren't there, but when Lazarus came out of the tomb and they were filming that, the same thing happened, and it was in an intimate. It was right there. They were all standing in it, and it just
came back.
encompassed around the place, and they were just speechless. They just had to stop. So
That's
that's
awesome.
twice that we know that's happened.
Has he mentioned that before? Has he said that one?
That was on the live stream
Okay.
too. Yeah, they were talking about some.
I
of
know,
it-
I know you have to be like extremely careful about what you.
There's some other parts I'd love to tell you, but I'd have to.
Yeah. Right.
There's going to be a scene in season 5, and it's a night scene.
Yes.
Um,
We were privileged to be a part of it.
that is going to be a powerful scene, even though we don't know how they're going to put it together. We were standing there waiting, and I think we can say this because they have a little video out. And Jesus was on the roof, and so they were doing some filming and some things like that. And Dallas said, "Okay, y'all just stand where you are. This may take a little while. Just be patient." And so all we had were the fires still going, the little torches and things going. It was very quiet.
There was a small fog floating through.
Yeah,
So
and you could just sense a presence settle on us. and you could, with 600 people, you could hear a pin drop. I'm telling you, it was just, it was
Wild,
that.
right?
And so, and I think I can tell this too about the bird. Can I tell
Let me
that?
think
Because
for
it's
a
not
minute.
part of the
Yeah, go
family.
ahead and tell them. That'd be good.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
were standing there in the quietness, and this big white bird flew over the open area and began circling. And I went,
I was like,
I said,
you know, I was like,
and we were spread out. Keep in mind, we were
yeah,
right
we were
over.
all spread out on the steps there at the temple.
Yes.
And everybody looked up and just saw this white bird begin to fly. And I thought they had released a dove, because they did have some in a little cage down there, but that was for another reason. But I didn't know till afterwards they said no. And so he disappeared, and a few minutes later, how many times did he come out? Maybe 3?
It was several there. It was
And
several.
he began to circle.
He
again.
disappeared for a little while.
Wow.
and
And
then
it
come
was
back.
like the Lord was telling us, I'm here.
I know. I
My
see you.
presence is here. And so that was a very special time for me, because we just knew God was with us. And whatever the story that was being told then was going to be very powerful when people watch it. Now, the bird won't be, and I'm sure, but just what they were filming at that time.
And we don't know what shots they were looking at.
Right.
Charlie, they'll pick out certain shots that may have happened or something, but yeah. it's
just to
gonna
know
be
that you were
tremendous.
there, that's
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Very, very special time.
Lots
And
for our people to look forward to.
Yes,
It's going to be just.
it's going to be a really emotional season, season
Yes.
5. But there's going to be some really,
how did Dallas put it? I think he's putting his caps on Instagram like kick butt moments or something.
yes.
Yes, that's
There's gonna
right.
be some.
That's
There's gonna be.
correct.
It's gonna be
See-
sad at times, but
See
kick butt.
Jesus with the whip,
Yep.
right? You see
Yep.
that. You know what that's going to be about.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And you know, one thing I'm curious about, and this is for season 6. Of course, we know it's the crucifixion. How he's going to do it differently from how he did it the first time. You know, because he's
Yes,
already done it
that's
once with
right.
Jonathan.
That's
So
right.
In
if
that
we,
other
if we
film.
get to go to season 6, can you interview us again? And
Yes.
that's what we'll talk about?
I'll do it. I'll do it. No, I'll do it.
Dallas, please let us come to season 6.
I'm not kidding. I'll do it. I will interview you again. But yeah, like, you know, I'm curious to see how it'll be done differently. Because, you know, he's already done it once.
That's
So,
right.
and it looked like it was done well. So how's that going to be? How's it going to change?
Well, let me tell you this. Season 5 covers 1 week
Right.
before crucifixion. And season 6 will cover 1 day, 24 hours.
Because there's
So
so
can you
much in there
imagine?
for that
Wow.
to capture.
The whole 7 episodes will be about 1 24-hour period.
That is, wow.
But I feel like, though, he's already filmed some of that already, because they not only were they filming just season 5, there were a lot of other
Other
times-
things they were.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
they
trying
were
to get
probably doing.
they would not say or tell us or
Yeah.
anything like that.
It's like, just, you know, stay over there. I'm like, we're not going to tell you what we're doing, but stay over there.
And they were back, I don't know that we mentioned this before, but they have, in Midlothian, Texas, is their filming site that they have built.
Yeah.
And it's at the Salvation Army campsite there, and they've allowed them to do that. And so some scenes are filmed there. They built this replica of Israel or and whatever. But now some scenes that involve the temple and the things around it are filmed in Utah, Goshen, Utah. And they borrow that. They've let them use that set for that. So they did go back. When we were there at season 5, we were in Utah. The Feeding of the 5,000 was in Midlothian, and the Sermon on the Mount was in Midlothian, Texas. But they did go back at the end of season 5 and film in Texas again. But they don't film in order. So, you know, I don't know.
not the
don't
way
know.
the biblical, not the way the Bible goes. You thinking, well, they're going to film.
Or the order
They
of
may
the
film.
episodes.
Yeah, they may film.
Well, that's how
something.
any
Yeah.
production is. You may
Yeah.
film, because it may be easier to film one than.
Exactly.
And I can even tell you that I did a short film here recently. You
Yeah,
know, with a
that
friend of
was
mine.
good, too.
Thank you. You know, we did that, and trust me, this stuff was not filmed. Like, in fact, the first scenes in the short film was the last thing we shot.
Exactly. That's
So,
what they do.
and like the middle stuff was the first thing we shot. So, you know, it just depends on your scheduling and how you
Right.
can get people. Which,
That's right.
you know, it was funny. I was stressing just trying to get that little group together and try to get, you know, because I was kind of the director of it.
Kind of coordinated.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
And so I can't imagine what it's like for Dallas to try to get
But he has
600
people
of
though
you.
that's really got a guy.
Right.
named
It
Mitch.
was just me and me, Gavin,
like-
and then his sister was trying to get people together, and I was like, y'all gotta get your stuff together. I was like, we got filming to do.
I bet he says that too.
But yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, you have to film what you can.
Do you
film.
have your big horn that you were talking?
I should
about?
have. Next
Yeah.
next time I'm gonna get one if we do another short film. Like, hey, stop fooling around and get over there.
And there were 3 words they used when they were filming, and I forget lights. It wasn't lights, camera, action. It was rolling. You just knew that when it was said rolling, silent.
It's like,
Nobody
Yes.
said anything on the
Yeah.
set.
What is it? Something,
Cameras up.
no, I don't
Anyway.
know. But anyway, we heard them enough and now we
Yeah.
can't think of them. But yeah, it's.
So
It's
what gives
pretty
you those
neat
words
to-
when you start doing this? See, I'm gonna be a director one day.
you never know.
That's right.
You never
Hey.
know. Well, I am going to a few film festivals with Gavin, so we're gonna go and see about. And I think it's the ones that the Kendrick brothers run.
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe go get to meet them. Hey, you want to be on the
Yes.
podcast, please? That'd
be great.
But now we're gonna go on to questions about our youth. So when you look at the young people today, do you see hope, or are you worried about the future?
That was the one that I started off on. I said, you got that one a little backwards here when we were both shooting back and forth. And she said, I said, okay. So
Okay.
I'll let her start, and I'm going to
Well,
finish up on it.
I read something not long ago that really impacted me for this answer,
Mm-hmm.
and it helped me know that I don't have to worry about the future of my grandchildren
Mm-hmm.
or their children or my children or your generation, because God has put you here, or you were born in a time exactly for such a time as this.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a plan that fits into that time period. Just like I think of Esther being born in her time, and she saved her people from certain death. And then you've got King David, and you've got Daniel, that was made a ruler over a province, and all for God's purpose. And you think about Peter, my goodness, and we're seeing his life played out on The Chosen, but he was so important in the early church and spreading the gospel and what all he went through. So God still has that plan. He has a plan for you, and this major, you're here for such a time as this, for your generation. And I get excited because I know he's raising young people up. I know he's got a plan for my grandboys, and maybe granddaughters
Yes.
one day, I don't know, but it was just for this time. So I can't worry about, the world's just a mess,
Mhm.
whatever, because the bigger the world mess is, the more the anointing's going to be for his children to rise up and live out that plan. It all works together. So no, I'm not going to be worried or fearful, and I pray that Christian parents will really model that and raise their children to understand who they are in Christ, because that gives them God confidence to know, hey, I'm here for a purpose, I'm valuable, I'm a special person that he's called for a special purpose. And so
We,
go ahead.
when I looked at that question too, I said, when you said there were 2 of them that said hope and worry,
Yep.
and I picked up on the worry end.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that meant to me was I started looking at worry. It says, we all worry to some extent. We worry
We do.
about the weather that's
Yep.
coming. We sat in front of the TV when the hurricane was coming. We were worried about what's coming.
Yep.
Or worried about our children, worried about our finance. There's always some portion of our life that surrounds worry. And I looked up a verse that said, Matthew 36, so do not worry about tomorrow. Each day will take care of itself. Now, if I believe that, do you believe that, or does she believe that? We would let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But worry and fear, what's it say about fear? Do not fear, for I have overcome fear. And we do. Our human side of us, that with our grandkids, our children and everything, we fear, we've talked about this, have we done enough with our children? We talked about maybe they didn't get certain things, but they're in for such a time as this too for young people that are coming up, to our grandkids that are coming up. So,
And God's in charge. He'll get us where we need to be without us.
so I see hope.
You know,
That's
yeah.
good.
And
We do.
But I love how you both took, a different approach to the question, though. Because some people they'll take the same approach. Like some couples, they just have we said the same exact thing, but you're different people. There's no way you said the exact same.
That's exactly right.
There's
I
no
agree
way.
with you, Charlie.
There's no way you
Yes.
said the exact same.
Opposites marry.
So
And we do that a lot. I mean, she one side, and that's what's so good about it. She can bring a different angle, like the hope and stuff, and I can look at the other side of it, and we come together on that, and we're able to talk about those things
That's good.
most of the time.
Well, as long as you're not fighting too much. I'm kidding. But what advice would you give to someone who is struggling to navigate this world in a biblical way?
I would say let go and let God.
That's good.
So we like to hang on to things. A lot of times we're handed down through the generations that come down to us, and that's all that we know.
Because we've been taught that or modeled that. Yeah.
And we grow up that way. So with my folks growing up, there were certain things that were given to me or passed down to me from a local church that, and the way I was raised, they brought up coming out of a home with a single mother, and that's all she knew. I never saw the dad side with me. And so I didn't know a lot of things were supposed to be done and how they were supposed to be done.
Yeah.
But as soon as I let go of a lot of tradition that I was raised on and could see some other stuff, I was able to understand a lot more what God had for my life, and to understand that He has certain things for me that, if I'll go down this way, and I've already got it figured out for you, Anthony. So
That's
let
good.
go of your past. And she can tell you, my past would, especially with my father and everything, would get in the way of a bunch of stuff, relationships and stuff, because I never had that relationship. I couldn't relate to some things. And so God says, I got that.
That's good.
And so young people coming up out of those homes that are broken or are maybe divorced. And so I see that in a lot of our young people. And they don't have a lot of that. And one of the verses I wrote was Proverbs 16:9. The mind of a man plans his way. He really does. We plan our way, but the Lord directs his steps.
That's good.
So that spoke to me. That's one of my favorite verses too.
That's good.
And mine is so close to yours in a way, but my answer was just, you have to surrender. And you can't even do that in your own power. God has
That's
to
right.
work through you to enable you to surrender and to abide.
That's
And
good.
when you abide in Him, you can hear His voice. And this verse speaks to me on that because I've been there. Matthew 11:28, and this is from the Message translation because I think it was just made it so clear. It says, "Are you tired, worn out on religion? Come to me and you will recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." And I think that
Glory.
just sums it up. Because
Yeah.
when we abide, we hear Him, and He's got everything in His hands, and He wants us to live that abundant life and just daily trusting. That's so hard for us, but He has to even empower us to do that. But He will do that if we'll just say, "Okay, Lord, it's in your hands. I'll be obedient. If you tell me to take that step, I will. But you're already there, and you're going to provide everything I need." So that should lead us to be very joyous because it's not on us to have to do it, fix it, work it out, all of that.
Usually when we fix it, it don't turn out too well.
It's not. Yeah, no.
Right.
Usually not.
So, yes, we've
Not
been
at
there
all.
too.
So, do you think it's harder now, more than ever, for Christians to avoid sin in their lives? If so, why?
Well, I have found that what I focus on is what I gravitate toward and eventually will act it out.
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 23:7 says, "For as he thinks within, so is he." It always starts with a thought, and if I'm constantly trying to focus on trying not to sin,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen?
You
I'm
will.
probably going to fall into that. So anything that I'm trying to do something in my own strength to do, I can't do that. You know, so our focus has got to be continually on Him, and only when we abide again in His power, and remember that a power is within us, and that reminds us we are dead to sin because He overcame all of that, and we don't have to. So when we understand that He's forgiven our past, present, and future sin, that was all on the cross, and He's removed our sin as far as from the east is the west, we won't believe the lie that sin still has power over us, because that was finished on the cross. But I love Romans 6:8-11, because this says it better than I can say it. It says, "Now if we have died with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with Him, knowing that Christ, having been raised from the dead, is never to die again. Death no longer is master over Him. For the death that He died to sin once for all. But the life that He lives to God. Even so, consider yourselves to be dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. Therefore, do not let sin reign in your mortal body so that you obey its lust." But I think when we focus on what He says whatever's true, whatever's noble, whatever's right, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely, whatever is admirable, anything that is excellent or praiseworthy, think on these things. So always stop and ask yourself, well, what does God say in His Word about what I'm thinking? Because we can believe a lot of lies about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that causes us to go down a path of wrong actions. So we dispel the lie, we put the truth in, and I found that the more I practice that, sin is not an issue like it was, because you're growing to learn to focus on Him. And then you know when you know the Lord, you don't desire to sin. That's not what you want to do. But sometimes we do fall into that, and then we're realizing, oh my Lord, that's something that I did not want to do, but He's already taken care of that. So you agree with Him that it's sin, and you repent, and you say, teach me through that, so that I won't go that way again. But that takes, to me, when you're trying not to sin, you're trying to do something in your own power.
Yep.
And He's already taken care of that. So that frees us up. That doesn't
That's
mean
good.
we're not going to make mistakes.
So how do you, off of that, so how do you avoid sin? How do you do that? She just talked about it, but how does an individual avoid it? It's going to be around there. And if you ask yourself, which sin is greater to God, gossip or adultery? How does
Sin
he
his us.
How does He view that? How does He say one's greater than another? Does He? No.
Nope.
He when He was at the cross, He said,
We may try to think that one's greater than the
Yes.
other.
That's
but
our
it's
human
not.
way of thinking.
And that's how we think. And when He said at the cross, it is finished. No, what did He mean by that? It is finished. That it was all done away with. Sin was all done away with altogether. And so, for our young people coming up and thinking there is so much out there, just like it is for us humans too. And if you're grounded, just like she read, just like she just brought up, the Spirit lives in us, His Spirit. And when you get in certain situations or you're around people or anything, that Spirit's going to identify. It's going to tell you and say,
Say, no, that's not for you. Right?
Yeah.
That's
I
not
don't know
for
about
you.
that.
yeah. So
Just like in, what was that, with Mary Magdalene, He came in and said, no, that's not for
that's
you.
exactly right. So
Yeah.
yes.
That's good.
And you just heed to that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's for your protection, it's for your good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. If you could describe Jesus in one word, what would it be and why? And if I had to guess, you probably sat on this for a minute. Like, and had to think about it, because there's a lot of words you could use.
There is a lot.
There's
of
one
words.
word that sticks out to me on this: Jesus is love, God is love. That's the biggest one. There are many adjectives out there, and I looked at a lot of them too. But He's love. Love is unconditional. And Christ has always got His hands. I always picture Him when I'm around people. When I get around people, how does Jesus see these people? I see Him with His hands stretched out wide, saying, like, come unto me. That's the way I view Him and see Him in my own life. And when I see people in the office, or if I'm around young people, or if they're having a bad day or misbehaving, or they're acting stupid, or just doing something, I just look at them and I said, I look at them with the love of Jesus.
Jesus doesn't see all that
He
stuff.
doesn't.
We try to, point out.
And so that's the way I look at it.
That's good.
Yeah, and I said the same, but the first word that came to mind was love.
So we're on the same page with
Yeah.
that.
That's good.
That's the one thing we're on the same
Well,
page.
that's the best thing to be on page about.
Because 1 John 4:16 says God is love, and Jesus is God. And John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no man than this."
One of my favorite verses.
That one lays down his life for his friends, and so He's given His life for us so that we could live
That's good.
abundantly. And you think of the special kind of love I can't even comprehend that it takes to give up His place in heaven, come down as a man, willingly give His life, that torture He went through as an atonement for my sins so that I could live abundantly, not only now but eternally. So there's no other love, no other word that really can, I think, describe that kind of sacrifice. So I guess you call that agape love, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
it's
good.
just amazing.
That's good. If you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be and why? Don't do that. No.
That's a good one. Especially how I grew up and some stuff. So with my family and what I saw and what I went through, I guess number one would be to slow down.
And that's good for today.
If I could tell my younger self and go back then to slow down and enjoy the smaller things in life, and you hear that a lot. But the older I've gotten, there's a lot of truth to that. Mm-hmm. Because I'm at an age too, if you're looking at, I can remember when I was in my teens and everything, and I used to say, I'll be glad when I'm 25, or if I have my own family, my beautiful wife and 3 kids and all of that. But there's other things that come with that too. Mm-hmm. But seemed like I was always in a hurry because I was always an athlete, or my family situation was not always
You're
the
not
best.
enjoying the moment
That's
by
right.
wanting it to be down the road. And so
Right.
you're missing the blessings. Yeah.
Right.
We've all been there.
And so, I wanted to, I would just, hey, let's slow down and let's enjoy and enjoy life.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I had something similar too, but the first thing was, if there's one truth that I wish I'd have known growing up, was somebody to share what it meant for my identity to be in Him. It would have saved me from many bad decisions, because I would make decisions out of fear or worry or that insignificance, or looking down on myself, and those decisions caused me a lot of heartache because I wasn't grounded, and that I was totally accepted in Him, and that I was secure in Him. I didn't need to be fearful, that I was significant. I was here for a purpose. So if I'd have known that as a young girl, I think that would have really changed a lot of things for me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the fear and worry, fear is a spirit, it's not of God. But I would fall into that because I'd worry about, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And that was not learning to trust God. So when we let fear rule, wow, we miss out on a lot because we're focused on that, and we're not trusting God with our decisions.
That's good.
And that can take a downward spiral.
You can.
But on the flip side, when I look back as a teenager and young adult, I would tell myself, enjoy life. Just enjoy, because He's given, everything He's given us as a gift. And we tend to look at the negative stuff, or the dark stuff, and He's blessed us so much, and I felt like, I probably wasted a lot of years not enjoying like we were talking about earlier, the blessings
Yep.
that He'd given me. And we're not promised another day. We're
That's
just
right.
not. And so I don't want to waste any time not enjoying the things that He's given me to enjoy, and meeting people and speaking life into them, and because that always brings blessing back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I think I'd tell myself is always step out in new opportunities and adventures.
That's good.
It may be fearful, but God's already there, and fear's not of Him. But you never know where a new opportunity is going to lead.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. He does. But if you let opportunities pass you by, and I probably let a lot of opportunities pass me by just because I was insecure.
Never close to it.
And
Yeah.
but you never know what could have been. But saying that, God is sovereign. He's going to get us where we need to be, even if it's in your 60s and you missed out in your 30s. If we just surrender at that point, He's still faithful to carry out His plan. I think about, God's not on our timetable, but Moses was 80 when God called him to lead the people of Israel. Abraham was 75 when God told him He would make his descendants as numerous as the stars. And Caleb led a battle God's people in a battle in his 80s. So it's never too late. If anybody's listening, don't tell yourself you missed out and it's too late.
That's
Anytime you surrender, God's going to take you where you need to be, and He's going to, redeem the time.
That's good.
Always. So he has a divine plan for every one of us, and it's more exciting than we can imagine.
That's good. You nailed that. But for my final question, what is your life verses and why are they important to you?
Well, the first one I thought about was at a young age when I was growing up. I remember this verse in Vacation Bible School, and I guess I associate it with the time of, when I knew Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
This time it says Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, which is a short verse, but I remember that verse, which I guess I associated it with when I grew up in Osceola Baptist Church there, and coming to knowing Jesus as Him, and that was a small one. And I remember dating back to that one too. The other one I can remember too is Matthew 6:19 through 21. Do not store up yourself treasures on earth where moth and venom destroy and thieves break in to steal.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved that one growing up too, and that was one that I grew up on too as smaller, when I was a teenager and everything, and grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I do have two other ones, so I'll let you have two, and I could go on several of these, but
Mine changes weekly.
yeah,
You know
so
what I'm saying? Because it's from what I'm going through at
Right.
the time. But one foundational one that is first, I have maybe three too, but it's Galatians 2:19 through 21. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself up for me. So it's not my wants and all this, living. It should be that surrender of Him, the power of God living in me, because it's not about me anymore. I was bought with a price. I'm here for a reason. And His life is immensely better than what I could ever make decisions and think of, what I need. The other one was, of course, everybody knows this one, Romans 8:28, and we know that all things works for the good of those who love Him and who've been called according to His purpose. And He says all things, even the things we think are terrible and horrible, if we turn them over, He works them for our good and His glory. And then I believe He works it for other people's goods that, they're around us. When they see something we've been through and God turn it for good in our lives, because He could do the same thing for them. And the last one is Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to his power that works within us. So we just cannot even imagine the things he has for us if we will just let him have it. And that verse has always come back to me over and over, beyond all we could think or imagine. And so I'm looking forward one day down the road, seeing where you are, what you're doing, because it's going to be far more abundantly more than you could ask or imagine, Charlie. So, you know, when you're interviewing these Phil Wickhams and all that, you know, that's just the beginning.
Yeah, you're just getting started.
That's
see.
right.
Yeah.
So I want to be there, your little go-to girl, and bring, you know, coffee and all these kind of things, you know, to get
I
to
want
meet
to be in
these
an interview
people.
with Phil Wickham. But I have two other ones, and I don't know this is
you're
go
good.
longer.
No, you're
But
good.
since
Go
The
ahead.
Chosen has come along, there are two verses that are really stuck out to me in there, and they've become two of my favorite. And one of them was from the very first episode when Jesus saw Mary Magdalene. And you know, remember what he said? And I cried just about because I put my name in there with it. And it says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you." For he has redeemed Anthony. I have called you by your name, and you are mine. And I remember that a lot because every time I see that scene, it just, he's talking to me.
Yeah,
And he's hugging. I imagine him hugging me there.
that's good.
And the other one is with Matthew 11:28 through 30. Come to me,
Yep.
all you who are weary, and I am burdened, and I will give you rest. For what does he say? My yoke is light.
That's good.
And so I remember that when I get bogged down in life's things around the home, and I hear things, children or my kids, you know, when it gets heavy, I was like, no, his yoke is light.
That's good.
His
It gets
burden.
heavy when we're trying to do something about it.
Yeah,
So-
Right.
that's right.
I have to let go of it. So anyway, yes.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's all the questions I have. But is there anything else that you guys want to say? Anything, words of encouragement or anything before we get out of here?
No, 10 years from now, I'm going to see you up on somewhere in New York City or what. Your mama's going to be right there with you, I know.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
you're going to be interviewing some
That's
people
right.
that are maybe in the Trump administration or something.
Well,
Who knows,
you
know?
never know. You know, we and we actually just recently went and saw Pete Hegseth. So that was really cool. So you never know. Hey, Pete, if you're listening, like before you become the Secretary of Defense, I'm open. Just saying. But yeah.
The only other thing that I would like to mention, because we've been talking about The Chosen, if somebody has not watched this series or wants to know more, if they will go to the App Store.
And I can also put it in the description as well.
Download
Yeah.
the Chosen app. I think it's the website would be like watchthechosen.tv or something, and it'll take you to the same place. But it has so many resources on it, not just the episodes, but it's got Bible scholar roundtables that explains each episode. It has the gift store. It just has so much information on there that you would really enjoy. So I just encourage people, if you haven't watched it, get you the app, and then you can cast the episodes. Or if you have watched it on there's other ways to watch it. I think Fire Stick and different things. But if you get the app, there's so much more that will add to your understanding of that. So.
That's right. Well, it was an honor to have you guys on. I know we've been trying to work it out for a while since this
Yes.
hurricane came through, but
Yes. God's time is
It's
perfect.
beautiful.
I am.
day, too.
It is,
So, yes.
and I am. I'm so thankful that we got to do this. And who knows, we're gonna have to do it again at some
Thank
point.
you for asking.
Yes.
us.
Of course.
Yes, it's been
Loved
fun.
it.
Of course.
Loved it.
With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.